What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Maria, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're old and returning, welcome back. On this channel, we talk about healing, emotional wholeness, psychology, the faith in God, and today we're going to talk about healing and why sometimes it feels lonely. So I know that healing can feel lonely, especially if you're finally doing it right. Like, you're finally learning the patterns you need to have, you're finally learning the behavior you need to have, you're finally shedding the old habits, you're finally relearning, unlearning what you need in this season, and it feels lonely more than ever. So here are 3 or 4 things ish about what I've learned about the healing journey and why it might feel so lonely. Number 1, healing is going to disrupt your identity. Okay, I don't know about you, but most of us, if you grew up being the helper, if you grew up being needed and loved because you were needed, if you grew up just like saving people and putting every single person above yourself, you will understand that healing will feel lonely, because for the first time in your life, you're trying to navigate what it means to let that go, what it means to love yourself enough to put yourself first for the first time ever. And I always say, you cannot save anybody. You cannot save anybody. And I know as a kid, you might have thrived on being needed, on being important to other people, because that's how people rewarded you. That, like, you were not quote unquote important to people unless you were needed by them. And that should not be any child's experience at all. Kids should be loved because they exist, not because they provide something for the family. And for most of us who grew up as people pleasers, who grew up as saviors, quote unquote saviors, who grew up putting other people above our own sanity and growth and, betterment of our souls, most of us really just needed someone to see us and receive us and tell us that there's nothing in this world that we could do that could communicate our worth. If you're like me, again, if you grew up just being that person, you probably feel worthy after you do something for someone. You overperform, you overdo, you overcomplicate things because you want to be perfect, because you want to serve. And those are all good gifts, right? Like, those are all good things because your heart is in the right place. But when you start to heal, you're going to quickly recognize that it is going to feel lonely, because the same people that have been with you in those environments that broke you cannot be, or might not even have the capacity to come with you in the place that you're going, in the season that you're in right now. And when you're healing, there is cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is basically like your old beliefs and patterns and values about yourself do not match the person you're trying to become. And the cognitive dissonance can feel so uncomfortable, but it is so necessary, especially if you are trying to stay on this track. People who are successful will always tell you that it is lonely at the top, okay? It is lonely at the top because 80% of people are not willing to put in the work that requires you to be on the top. Most people are okay with mediocrity. Believe it or not, the average person is okay with mediocrity. They're okay with the bare minimum. They don't, as long as they have money, as long as they have stability, they're okay with that. But for most of us who are perfectionists, quote unquote perfectionists, or people who just want to be better every single day, you are going to find yourself putting in the work that over time will benefit you, but in the moment it will feel like you're doing something wrong because you're not being rewarded, right? Your brain is like, what are we doing? Like, this does not seem like it's paying off. But I promise you, even though it feels lonely right now, you are going to be in that top 10%, 20% of people if you stick to your vision, to your healing journey, to your calling that God has on your life. The other part about identity is that as a Christian, I truly believe that there are seasons of isolation and wilderness where God needs the old version of you to completely die. Okay? To completely die, so the new version of you, so the new identity of you can finally develop, can finally emerge, so you can fully understand who you are, not just spiritually, but on a neurobiological level, understand who you are, whose you are, okay? So your identity needs to be disrupted, okay? I hate to break it to you. Number 2, let's talk about relationships. I've already said the same people who have been in the environments that broke you might not have the capacity to understand where you are and where you're going. And most of us we want our people, right? Like, you don't want to be lonely. You want your people. You want the people that you grew up with, the people that you love, to be in the same season that you're in, so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor together, all these things. But sometimes you feel like you're dragging people with you, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to drag them, just like they don't want to feel like they're dragging you in their direction. And that can feel lonely because you understand quickly, you figure it out quickly that People are just not on the same wavelength sometimes as you. They're just not in the same chapter or on the same page of the book, and you have to be okay with that, okay? And that is really, really hard, but you have to be okay with that. What healing exposes is that even though everybody, like, what I want to say is that healing does not mean everyone around you is toxic, okay? But it is going to expose who is for you and who is not for you, especially moving forward. And you have to be okay with saying to yourself, you know what, like, they served a purpose in my life, and I truly appreciated that. This person, who they are, who they have been to me, served a major purpose in my life, but where I'm going, this relationship is just not helping. The more you understand, the more you accept where you are and where you want to go, it starts to become easier. And I also want to say, you don't have to do this alone. Like, even though, yes, you are shedding relationships, you are shedding patterns and behaviors and what you know about yourself, there's cognitive dissonance going on, you can, like, prompt yourself to make new relationships. You can find people who think the way you do, who inspire you to heal and to just, like, create that life that you want. A lot of us find it easier to go back to old patterns because it feels comfortable, because it feels like, okay, this is what my body knows, like, this is what I know, so I'm gonna like go back. Do not do that. Do not do that just because you want people and you want attention and you want that old feeling of feeling needed again. Don't do it to yourself. You can find people. It might take you a while, but I promise you it is so worth it. Seek community, seek friendships, seek people that are on the same wavelength as you. Like, find people who think the way you do, find people who inspire you, find someone who's doing the same thing you want to do. Study them. Study their patterns, study their habits. How did they get there? What do I need to change? You know what I mean? Like, pray about it and involve God in that process as well, because He is the leading curator of the life that you want. So again, relationships are hard to build, but you don't have to do this alone. Just because you're shedding old relationships and people, moving forward, you don't have to do that alone. This might be your sign and your season to emerge into the person you want to be, to find people who inspire you and live the life that you want to live. You deserve community. You deserve that. And people who for the first time in your life are not going to, make you feel like you need to save them and you need to, quote unquote, be important for them and serve them in some way for them to love you back. You know what I mean? Okay, third point. Learn to be okay with yourself. Learn to be okay with yourself. It is hard. I know it is hard, but it is okay to learn who you are by yourself. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is like, I'm abandoned, I'm doing this by myself, what am I doing? Maybe I should not do it. It's all negative. Solitude says, okay, I am learning how to be my own safe space. I'm learning how to cope with this situation better. I am learning what triggers me. I'm learning what makes me angry. I'm learning what kind of boundaries I need to set with people. I am learning who I am. Learning to be okay with yourself will also help you understand, again, what you need to learn, what you need to unlearn, what you need to do to be better, to get where you want to be. Learning to be okay with yourself is going to feel difficult because you're trying to navigate what life is with your own thoughts, with your own desires. What do you actually like to do? What do you actually believe? What do you actually think? Sit with that. Journal, meditate, whatever you need to do. Pray. That is so important. Especially, like, you ever meet people, adults, who do not know what they want, who wait for other people to decide for them because they don't trust themselves. This season of healing is so important because even though you feel like you're alone in this and you're, learning all these things by yourself, it is so important. This is a skill that a lot of us don't really talk about. It is important for you to understand who you are, and that starts with sitting with yourself, with your own thoughts and your own trauma and understanding what triggers you and all these things. It is important to understand that skill because it also is almost like the foundation of so many other skills: communication, standing up for yourself, and defending other people. All these things like that starts with, what do I believe? What do I think? Who am I? Who am I not? It is important. So learn to be okay with yourself, okay? Learn to be okay with that. It is not the enemy, I promise you. It is important in your journey. The other point, which is like a half point, you're going to be tempted to go back to old habits. You're going to be tempted to be chosen by other people. You're going to be tempted to be validated again. You're going to be tempted to seek that out again. Please stay the course. Like, it is important that you stay the course do not be tempted to go back to where you're coming from. That environment broke you for a reason, okay? Now you're going to create and move on so that the generations that come after you are thankful that that one person sat back and healed their trauma so that it does not pass on to the other person. Maybe healing feels lonely right now because for the first time in your life, you are putting yourself first. You're not abandoning yourself anymore for other people. The loneliness is not a sign that you're doing something wrong or that you're on the wrong path. Sometimes it's proof that you are creating something you're proud of, that you are creating something that is necessary for your betterment. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Make sure to subscribe. I hope this helped you out, and bye.